Yeah, good morning again. Ms. Matias, we are live. We are recording and streaming. You may proceed with this morning's public executive review session.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals Public Review Session for April 14th, 2026. We'll begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items, 2025 16BZ, 583 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn.
Tony, can you announce that I'm remote, please?
Sorry, yes, excuse me. Please note for the record that Commissioner Sheta is joining remotely. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So we received the revised documents. The as of right new construction has been modified as directed by the board, and the financial analysis also has been revised. And the as of right two-family new construction has been removed from the analysis. Instead of that, the so-called lesser variance, a conforming residential use, has been analyzed for financials, and the construction cost has been revised. It is now based on Marshall and Swift methodology. So, and I would say the architect's letter that has been provided regarding the two options of laying out the dwelling units side by side versus one on top of the other. I appreciate the information that the applicant has provided, and the design strategy that has been outlined satisfies my question, and I accept one above the other dwelling unit for conforming residential alternative, which is what has been analyzed for the financial also. And plan has been revised. I do have a couple of questions with regards to the plan. Since the parking narrative has been revised, which says no standing anytime is being proposed along Farragut Road, I want the applicant to indicate it on the proposed site plan, and I'm assuming this would be subject to a DOT approval. So applicant, please clarify and indicate it on the plan as the proposal. Based on the revised findings, revised submission, I'm sorry, I am satisfied and I believe the findings have been met. Though we did have neighbors testifying that no lighting and at a minimum, if any lighting is proposed, so just going back, the neighbor at the last hearing had stated that they didn't want any lighting. It wasn't quite clear to me to what extent the neighbor did not want it, but at a minimum, any lighting proposed shall not exceed 2-foot candlelight, which is kind of the safety light standard that has been applied along the residential lot lines, and the light shall be directed down and away from the abutting residential use. So please add that note to the plan. Also, I noticed that a new ramp has been proposed from Farragut Road. I just want the applicant to confirm that, and I'm assuming that is in response to the comments that we had raised at the hearing. And so if you can just clarify, because that wasn't quite clear from the submission. And please affirm if there is any signage that is being proposed. I didn't see it anywhere in the elevation, but if you can please confirm it at the hearing, that would be good. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to check if we already discussed the community board's approval. If that was.
Yes, we did.
We did. Okay, and I agree with your statements. I have no other comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I agree with you that the financials were revised as per our directions regarding Marshall and Swift. I just had one question for them regarding the construction cost line item listed as interior construction. Could they flesh that out just in hearing? Quick question. Is it the building out of the interior partitions, walls, bathrooms, and kitchens? It seems like it is, but I just want to make sure about that. That's my only question. And as I said, it actually could be answered in the hearing. There's no need for writing on.
Okay.
The microphone, I think maybe the microphone.
It's on.
Oh, it's on? Okay, sorry.
Did you hear me? Do you want me to say it again?
We heard you though. Now, yeah,
Now,
thank you.
now is better.
Yeah, it was just a little low, but you sound very clear now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Chair. I also did look at the letter from the architect, and although I'm not an architect, I did get the feeling that it explains the reason behind putting the two units on top of each other rather than side by side. So I'm satisfied with that. Also, the demo cost went down um, to 50,000 from originally about 170, then to like 70 something, and now they are like on the order of 50,000. So I'm also satisfied with that. So if the financials are okay, I'm satisfied with the application entirely. And I do believe that it did meet the findings based on the figures presented in the financials.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I'm satisfied with the application. The conforming residential with one unit over the other is, I thought, the most practical way to set up the scheme. So the letter seemed to also explain that, as we discussed at the last hearing. And then the no standing zone is indicated on the site plan, but let me just pull it up so you
Oh.
can see it.
Okay,
There's these notes here that indicate the no parking for street cleaning, and then proposed no standing anytime.
see.
And the arrow goes both ways. And then here's another one where it starts and points
Okay.
to the left.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, move on. Wait till you finish typing.
Yeah,
Ready?
yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Item number 19, 2025-27 BZ, 3657 Kingsbridge Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, just scrolling through my notes, just a second. Okay, so we received a revised statement of facts, including air quality analysis with regards to the D finding. And based on the information provided, the analysis meets the D finding it completes the D finding, because I think that was one of the missing piece. And the statement of fact also has been revised, including the line busting operation that has been added, and the hours of operations for the restaurant and the drive-through has been clearly outlined. And the applicant states that the restaurant will not serve breakfast. My only comment on this one is that the drive-through operation will not be facilitated during breakfast period. Since the restaurant use is an as-of-right use, any walk-in pickups that would be typical of an as-of-right use is not something that the board is weighing in on. The only thing is that the drive-through will not be open, will only open at 9:30 a.m. and not prior to that. So a revised plan has been submitted, which shows the 10-foot high sound barrier walls that will be provided along both the rear and the side lot lines. And so I think I'm satisfied with all the corrections that's been made. And it meets the findings. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I too am satisfied with this application. I found the material to be responsive to all of our questions. The statement of facts, as you said, has been updated to show the opening at 9:30 a.m. every day of the week, and closing at 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, and 12 a.m. on Sunday through Thursday. I don't have any other questions for this applicant.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I'm also satisfied with the application.
Okay. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Chair. They responded to my comments in previous hearings, so I have no further comments on this application too.
Okay. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I'm satisfied. They did provide a red line statement of facts, which was very helpful. But I noticed a small typo where you corrected the width of West 238th Street from 80 feet to 60 feet. And you define it as a wide street still, but it should be a narrow street. So if you could just make that change in the statement of facts. Otherwise, I'm satisfied.
Which street, West?
West 238th Street.
238th Street. Okay, thank you.
It's really interesting that you say that because my experience in that neighborhood is West 238th is a wide street. So is it,
It's the mapped width by which the definition of narrow and wide street is being.
Maybe they should just confirm the.
yeah, I don't
dimension.
know if it's 60 feet. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
'cause
right.
It appears to be two ways with a double yellow line. It's not a
Then it-
narrow one-way street. That's what I'm trying to
Right,
say.
okay, so the
Yeah.
applicant should verify the actual the mapped width and the built width of the street. And then I would say eliminate the term narrow on width if you're not sure about it, just state the.
Well, it's either above 75 or below 75.
Right, but
So
if
once
it
you
is
have the
mapped to,
width,
what if it's mapped to 75, but it's built to something less? I'm just saying that. Built width is less than the mapped width.
I guess maybe they should just find out what the width is.
Yeah.
Because by
Yeah.
zoning definition, it's
I
very
agree.
clear,
I agree.
75 and up is wide. and
Exactly.
Below
I-
75 is narrow.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, so please clarify that. Thank you. Just give me a second, I just.
Yeah, I'm waiting to.
Okay,
Next, please.
yes.
Okay. Item number 2025 34BZ, 620 West 153rd Street, Manhattan.
So everybody, please bear with me. So on March 23rd, board reopened the subject case, a good faith reliance case, because the applicant failed to send a revised submission to all parties, specifically committee board pursuant to BSA Rule 1-05.9. Though I would note that no substantive changes were made to the application that would have undermined community board's decision to conditionally disapprove the application. Any additional input should be on the difference between the revised submission that was made on January 12th, which is which is why this case, this was open, and that's really the subject matter. And the submission that was made on January 12th is really minimal and technical in nature. So community board has been notified of today's hearing. The proof of hearing notice has been provided to the community board. Proof of hearing notice has been provided, and the revised documents were emailed and also mailed to the attention of the chair of the community board. So in terms of chronology, I just want to lay it out. The initial application was filed on August 29th, 2025. The initial filing notice was sent to the community board elected official city planning on September 9th, 2025 via emails. A hearing notice was also sent to the required entities on November 13th, 2025 via email. Community board held a general board meeting on November 20th, 2025 and issued a conditional disapproval, 29 in favor, 3 opposed, 3 abstained, and a letter dated November 24, 2025, signed by the chair of community board was sent to BSA. In addition, a hearing notice was published in the chief newspaper on December 5th, 2025 regarding the first initial hearing. BSA held its first hearing on December 8th. Representatives from the community board or the neighborhood were not in attendance. At the initial hearing, applicant responded to board's comments. Based on the information provided, board closed the hearing and asked the applicant to revise the application material, which, as mentioned earlier, was minimal and technical in nature, which is specifically just revise the financial study, statement of facts, and DOB objection, and the proof and providing the proof of the newspaper notification. Applicants submitted these revised documents on December 23rd, 2025, and the board voted to approve the good faith reliance application on January 12th, 2026. Since it is a procedural nature, I don't think we need to say much other than I just wanted, for the historical purpose, reference purposes, I wanted to lay out the chronology and where we are. And so let's wait till public hearing to hear from the applicant and public at large. Okay. Next case.
Item number 21, 2025-46 BZ, 5904 17th Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. All right. So we received 2 additional letters of support. However, we have not yet received any community board recommendations. Applicant in its cover letter states that the statement of fact has been clarified with regards to the proposed use group. It is now use group Roman numeral 3A, a rectory, and that, quote, this revision underscores the necessity of having the rabbi reside directly at the site to serve the congregation effectively, unquote. The revision made to the programmatic need now includes the schedule for weekdays and Shabbat. So upon review of the document, which is minimal at best, the need for a rabbi's unit that exceeds the primary use, the synagogue cannot be based on these 2 revisions, changing the use group to a rectory and the hours of operations, which is no different from the other similar synagogues and existing operation at the subject house of worship. It is not mandated that every house of worship shall have a rectory. Houses of worship, by and large, reviewed by BSA, do not include rectory, and if they do, if there is any living accommodation that is provided, it is at most a studio and not as proposed. So the waiver is being driven by the need to house the rabbi and his family, and not the synagogue and the affiliated prayers. So not having a rectory at this facility has not affected the operation of the synagogue all these years since 1960s or so. And its growth, and it has continued to grow, and is serving its congregants. There has been no functional programmatic changes that has been proposed as a result of lack of the rectory. The applicant, I therefore believe, has failed to meet the A finding, and I really don't want to discuss any of the other findings associated with it because the A is the critical part. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with your statements. I have no further comments.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I agree with you. I feel that the waivers are being driven by the size of the rabbi's family and not the synagogue's need. And I don't think that renaming it a rectory really changes the fact that the enlargement is not for enlarging the congregation, but it's rather based on the fact that there are 11 family members and assorted guests who would likely use the rectory. And so I also want to go back to the overall program statement about this synagogue, because to this day, there still isn't a statement on the overall congregation size. There's just a narrative about how 300 people worship there weekly and that the mikveh accommodates 100 people weekly. They say the congregation's growing, but that isn't reflected in the plans that enlarge either the sanctuary itself or the mikveh, because the sanctuary only accommodates 49 people. Then they say the services have up to 50 people each, and they use the second floor multi-purpose room as additional worship space. So basically, this synagogue itself, even though the congregation is growing, is still staying quite small. And when you look at the division of the floor area between sanctuary and events directly associated with the religious expression versus the rectory apartment, it's almost a split, 1/2 for each. So it isn't even a question that the rectory's apartment is accessory to the sanctuary. It's actually competing as a second primary use. So they're
Yeah.
kind of co-primary uses. And if you look at it based on FAR, the rectory has actually got a higher FAR than the synagogue and associated spaces, because part of that is cellar space, which doesn't count towards FAR, whereas the entire rectory apartment is FAR. So it actually makes that look as if that's the primary use. And then then if you delve into the reasons why the rectory has to be so large, they talk about the rabbi and the wife conducting counseling sessions and meetings and need to be on site 24/7 to promote and enhance community amongst congregates. And they talk about the use of the rectory's apartment for some of those activities. But my question is, why can't they use that second floor multi-purpose room with dividers? There's no question as to why they actually need to occur in the rectory and not in the sanctuary itself, because from what I can gather, the congregation isn't that large and it doesn't seem to be taking up 100% of the scheduling time for those rooms. So that's why I don't feel that they have met the findings of uniqueness yet.
Yeah, I think these were all the questions we had raised at the initial hearing, where we questioned the purpose of the multipurpose room and how it was going to be served, providing a schedule of events and the fact that things will kind of bleed into the rabbi's unit for other functional programs. That's really not the intent of these. It's a mixing of the two operations, and that's not what any house of worship which has even an accommodation for sleeping of for the priest or rabbi, or I've not seen this element of bleeding of the uses, and it is kept separate for reasons, and the common areas are common areas and private areas private area. So and yes, no explanation was provided. The statement of facts with regards to the programmatic need has not changed at all, and I'm assuming the same functions, same programs are still existing, because that's what they're saying, and that seemed to have worked.
So I agree with you, but I just wanted to add, in answer to our request for like a room schedule, I might be looking at the wrong thing, but the file I opened seems like a submitted schedule, which was papers tacked to a bulletin
Yeah.
board written in Hebrew that I can't understand.
No,
I don't know about the
And that's
rest of
not
the board.
acceptable. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate that, but you need to provide translation of this information and not just a visual cue. So I appreciate your effort, but it does not answer the question, and it needs to be legible. I want to say it needs to be understandable to those who are unfortunately not familiar with the language, and it is a public document, so it needs to be available in a manner that is readable for all.
Yeah.
So I think that information is not sufficient at all.
Yeah, and I would just add, it needs to also be stated in the statement of facts, and to Commissioner Holly Brown's point, just saying that your prayer services are overflowing on daily services is not giving us a good understanding of what your growth is either.
Right, yeah. Though the statement says there is a growth.
Yeah.
And that's why a little bit of enlargement on the second floor is proposed, which is minimal at
Mhm.
best.
Sure.
So, okay. So Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I second your comments, all of you. I don't think our comments from the last hearing were responded to. I was like shocked by looking at the submission. I was actually skeptical whether I downloaded the latest version of this folder or not. So I checked it and I looked at the submission, and it sounds like the more or less ignored what was being said in the previous hearing. Uh, During my career with the board, I have looked at tons of house of worship. I never seen a residence for imam or rabbi or priest in a house of worship with that size as it compares to the primary use. So and that was like the major hurdle for this case during the last hearing. Though in this hearing still we have the same apartment size, no explanations. The only thing that it changes changing the use group, and I don't think this will let it fly. So I don't believe they made the uniqueness finding, and I hope we like they either go and change what they are proposing, or we can close this case and put it like to rest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been stated. I have a lot of similar comments, so I won't repeat them, but the rabbi's family, the size of it seems to be the driving force, not the house of worship. And generally, the application is confusing. The plans don't reflect the arguments. As Commissioner Otley Brown said, why is the sanctuary 49 seats when it's already a 50-seat daily attendance? And then there's expected growth. So none of the design of the synagogue seems to reflect what's being stated. So overall, I'm confused about what the actual need is and how you plan to satisfy that with this application. I still don't understand why there's not an elevator for a house of worship that's multi-level. There's just basic things that don't seem to connect the dots. And then the schedule, not only is it a photo of papers in a different language, but it doesn't really address, as far as I can tell, what we typically look for, which is a room schedule or some sort of understanding of how each space is used and what are simultaneous uses and what can't be simultaneous uses. So this format certainly isn't helpful for a number of reasons. So I'll leave it at that. I agree with everything else that's been stated.
Thank you. All right.
And the next final case is zoning calendar, new cases, 2025-52 BZ, 560 McDonald Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, we received proof of initial filing and hearing notices. However, we have not received a community board recommendation. This is an application for a bulk variance for a permitted group for a permitted use group to provide an educational facility. Now, please note the document submitted refers to the proposed facility as a school. It is a nonprofit use that is providing an educational facility for a special category of students, but it does not meet the definition of zoning resolution 1210. 1210 requires certification from Department of Health, New York City Health Code, and the document should be revised to clarify that distinction. Alternatively, the applicant states that the school, quote unquote, qualifies for educational deference and refers to case law. And provided some supportive documents. I also would like the applicant to provide the location of the current school. So as I mentioned, this is a bulk waiver. The waivers that are being sought, it's a floor area ratio, front yards, side yards, rear yards, front wall height, sky exposure plane, side setback, and lot coverage. This is a vacant corner interior lot, irregularly shaped triangular lot, and it has 2 street frontages. It does have a history with BSA. However, at that time, dating back to 1958, when BSA had granted a variance for automotive service use, and the last extension the board had granted was in, I think, 2007. for an extension of term for an automotive service use. And after that, it has been sold to the current owner who is proposing to use this for an educational facility for a special needs group. And it's so the proposal is to build a 5-story educational facility for special needs student. And therefore all the waivers are required based on the programmatic needs that's been outlined. I have one question regarding the waivers requested, which is pursuant to zoning resolution section 24-361B and 24-393. The proposal would be required to provide a 30-foot rear yards opposite Avenue C frontage, bordering the entire 20-foot width of the rear yard of lot 141. And this is stated on page 15 of statement of facts. So I'm not sure if zoning resolution sections 24-361 is being applied correctly. So please look into that. So I will move right on to the findings of 7221. So since this is a nonprofit, we look at the programmatic need. And as I stated, it is an educational institution and not, as the applicant states, as a school per 1210 definition. So this would, given the specific program that is, and the target audience, it has specific needs to serve the students that would be studying here. And this affects the classroom size and the need for the proportional amount of student to staff and attendant will be different from a typical school, and the need for other program spaces for various activities would also be different. And those have been outlined in the uniqueness, the programmatic need. Also, in the programmatic need, the applicant states the mode of transportation, and the students will be commuting to and from the site by bus. And that would be offered not just for daily, but also for after-school program. And that the students will be accompanied by their shadow. They will be accompanied from their home all the way to the school and return. There is a significant number of staff that will be arriving to the site, and the applicant states that provides a modal split for the staff also in this document. So the applicant states the need to expand to provide additional space for student growth and increase in the staff room and space to carry out the planned lesson activities is driving the need for the waivers. So while the program space for the student body is better justified, it needs to be supported with the threshold requirements based on DOE, New York City Health Code, for the special needs schools, including minimum room size, students to teacher ratio, types of room and occupancy rate, etc. At the same time, the statement regarding the need for various types of office space, conference rooms are not established. Based on the layout of the ground floor, there is generous amount of office space and admin space which needs to be scaled down. With regards to the neighborhood, since it's a nonprofit, financial analysis is not required. With regards to the neighborhood character, the terraces along the rear lot lines on second floor, will that be no, there are not two terraces. There's only one terrace. There's only one terrace that is located along the rear lot line on the second floor. And my question is, will it be accessible to students? Assuming it is not, since no noise attenuation measure is proposed, please add a note that it will not be accessible except for emergency and maintenance purposes. Also, the side yard along lot 141, will it be used for outdoor play area for the daycare students? it very much it may very much likely be used based on its location and its accessibility from the daycare. Therefore, I want the applicant to provide an 8-foot high sound attenuation residential quality opaque barrier along this lot line. I also want the applicant to provide acoustical material that is proposed for the rooftop terraces. There are several rooftop terraces that are proposed, so those details need to be provided. The proposed ramp and stairs to the building lobby, they must be located within the lot line. As proposed, they are located outside the property line, which is not acceptable. The proposed ramps and the stairs must be located within the lot line. Please revise the ground floor plan accordingly. Also, based on the site plan, I'm not sure about the 10-foot wide curb cut that is proposed to be located within the 20 feet of intersection of Avenue C and McDonald's Avenue. I don't know if that's permitted, so please remove that. Though per plan, a 16-foot wide sidewalk is shown fronting McDonald Avenue, the usable width of that sidewalk, once you subtract the proposed street tree planting and the planting strip and these ramps and stairs that are encroaching onto the public sidewalk, would result in just about 5 foot of clearance. And so because of that, these stairs and ramps has to be located within the lot line to allow for at least 10 foot of clearance from the planted strip and from the street tree to the property line. Also, regarding the planting strip along McDonald Avenue, I would say in this particular instance, apart from the trees, I'm not sure the planting strip is realistic, especially when this frontage will be used for students drop off and pick up, and some of them may be using wheelchair. So while it's a good effort, I think apart from street tree, I don't think the planting strip along this frontage would survive the aggressive nature of the frontage that one would see almost 6 days of the week.
You're saying on the McDonald's Avenue side?
McDonald's
Okay.
Avenue. So if you look at the site plan,
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
see there's a 5-foot strip. So I don't have any additional comments with regards to the neighborhood character. With regards to the self-created, I just want the applicant to simplify the definding, and the definding requirement has been modified for nonprofit organizations. So please refer to the requirements in the website and revise the statement of findings accordingly. So with regards to minimal, the question raised by me that needs to be responded, but overall, it's not a significant ask, but it does need a lot more clarification and a little bit more tightening of the internal spaces. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. I also believe that this is a minimal ask. I do agree that there needs to be modifications, particularly with regard to calling it a school when it's an educational institution. I found the programmatic needs argument to be, I found it to be pretty detailed, but I do agree that there's office space that needs to be supported by something, and I think more likely not would have to be, at least in a final show, have to be removed to some degree or limited. I don't have any other questions, although the curb cut that you were referring to, is that also on McDonald Avenue?
On Avenue C.
Okay, then I have nothing further to ask.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I could be splitting hairs here, but I do have a question for the applicant. If this is an educational institution and not a school at this moment in time, so it could just be that they didn't have the proper documentation arranged, so I'll give them that. But if it is, then not being a school, it doesn't get Cornell deference.
Yeah.
It's considered a traditional not-for-profit. If it's considered a traditional not-for-profit, they can't go directly to programmatic needs. They have to talk about some uniqueness with the property, some deficiency that prevents their ability to fully develop to the as of right max limits on this property. And then I believe once they've established that, they could go into a discussion of the programmatic need. And so I don't know that the statement really does that.
No, it does not.
It's got to get a little more finessed in order to follow through. However, if they can provide that documentation that it is in fact a ZR 1210 school, then they can proceed. But I believe that the statement just directly goes into, this is a special education school and it's a laudable idea, and so therefore we should get Cornell deference. These are our programmatic needs. And so could be splitting hairs, but I think we need to kind of be clear about our boundaries around who we grant Cornell deference to.
I don't like to step in, but I want to thank you for stating that. Thanks for the clarification. I forgot to mention it, but you're absolutely right.
And then my only other question, of course, goes to the e-finding. As always, I want to know how this school is measuring up to other schools in its class to see whether or not this is an appropriate ask or an over ask. Those are my questions.
I would say it's not only just comparison with other school, but also what is the minimal requirements of any of these other overseeing agencies or bodies that I'm sure there are requirements, and I've seen studies provided by similar applicant pool justifying the need for some size of space.
Right.
So,
And all we have is DOB's allowance of 68 square feet per student in the classroom, and that they're going to provide 70 square feet per student in the classroom.
right.
But there is no discussion on whether or not School Construction Authority issues guidelines and that they're following that. There really isn't.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. My only take on this case relates to finding A. I'm satisfied with A, and as Commissioner Brown indicated that if this is not a school, they need to go to the route that she described. On the E, I do see like too many large conference rooms uh, on the plans. I'm not sure. I couldn't see a justification for that many rooms. Maybe they can like squeeze them a little bit and reduce the scope of the variance. Um, Also, many admin spaces, many executive spaces, they need to look into that. Also, I did look at section 2 on drawing A301.00, and I couldn't see an acoustical barrier or any sort of like noise attenuation around the play terrace that they say they are proposing. So I believe they need to take another look into that. The floor to floor height, although the spaces um, are not that wide structural wise, I do see that the framing for each floor is about 24 inches, and according to the sections I looked at, it sounds like they are using structural steel to frame this. I believe 24 inches is kind of like an overkill. If they, especially with the height listed as one of the waivers, uh, I believe if they can look into squeezing this floor to floor height a little bit, that would be helpful in mitigating that waiver. Um, Also, the classrooms and the other spaces on the northern side of the building, they are lacking natural light and air. And I was thinking if it's possible to provide like a 5 or 6 feet side yard at this area, because they are using light windows on the upper floors. The adjacent building is I believe it's a 3-story or so, and up to the lower 3 floors, they are using uh, artificial, I believe, light and air. But above that, they are providing lot light windows, and I'm not sure if these are legal. But I was thinking if a 5 foot rear yard, side yard is provided there, and they can push the other spaces down to the cellar where this huge multiple purpose room is provided, and just provide natural light and air for these spaces, that would be helpful too. That's
Can
what I have for now.
clarify which side you're talking about, the natural light and the lot?
The northern one.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Benke, I'll get to you. Let me finish, let me go to Commissioner Yoon first.
Um, let's see. Generally, I think the building is quite tall for the site and the surrounding area. And I would like to discuss some alternatives to the 72-foot height where everything in the neighborhood is considerably shorter. And just for the sake of this discussion, I'm going to pull up the neighborhood character study. So it's not that I'm questioning that space is needed. It's just about how the space is arranged. And here you can see the number of stories in the surrounding area. And then there's also, we've got a pretty low-rise residential series of blocks here. So the plan, the overall proposal, you can see we have the building gets up to its maximum height of 72 feet on the northern side, and it has a series of terraces. So there's a pool located on the top floor. Pools above ground tend to add a huge floor package because you need to accommodate the depth of the pool. And so you end up with a 6-foot floor, or, I forget exactly how deep this one is. And that's just dead space. That's dead height to accommodate the actual pool. So I would like to see a test fit of the pool on the ground floor or in the cellar, and a reduction of the number of terraces and trying to maximize the floor area more per floor so that we can get the overall height down. I think this is going to be on this size of this lot, and the way this is shaped, this will feel very tall relative to its neighbors and in its context. So I think some attempt needs to be made to, again, use more floor area per floor, which will increase the height of the street wall towards Avenue C, but could overall flatten the height as you go towards the northern side on McDonald. I wanted to touch on a few comments that were made by the fellow commissioners. So the second floor roof terrace, if you look at the second floor plan, and sorry, our stamp is right in the middle of all of the detailed information here, but there is a note. It talks about a 10-foot high steel post frame with acoustic barrier. And this is clearly labeled a playground terrace. So this is
I see.
shown here.
Okay.
So it does appear that this would be used. Let's see.
But it's not in the section, Commissioner, right?
Sorry,
It's not in the section.
in the section?
Yes, if you look at the section view on 301, it's not indicated there.
I see. Yes, it doesn't seem to be indicated on the elevation, or does it cut through a section?
Yeah, that one to the right.
Not in this.
Yeah, it's
section.
not. Okay, so we need to add more information on the elevations and sections. As to the rear yard conversation, I thought the way it was described narratively in the statement of facts was very confusing, but eventually I understood what was being said. And so just to go over the chair's comment about 24-361B, I spent a little bit of time looking at this. And so there's a corner lot here, and then there's the interior lot. The
Mhm.
corner lot requires an 8-foot side yard, which they're proposing. And then once you get past that 100 feet, you need a rear yard. And I'll try and just draw over this so that you can see. You need a 30-foot rear yard for this lot 141,
Mm-hmm,
and then you also need a 30-foot rear yard here.
mm-hmm.
So this is where they're asking for the waiver. This, I found after I looked at it, I thought they had done the analysis correctly. It just was described in a way that was very confusing to me in the statement of facts.
I
but
agree.
ultimately correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. The way it's been stated is incorrect because when you look at the sections, the section picks up this particular 30-foot rear yard the way you showed, but it's not clearly indicated on the plan, and the statement of fact also is confusing.
It's very confusing, yeah.
So please simplify it.
Yeah.
And it almost leads one to believe why you're asking for this waiver.
Yeah.
So please clarify that. Yeah.
So the other thing, and this may feel like splitting hairs, but I think that the definition of a corner lot is 100 feet, which is a line placed parallel to the street, to the intersecting streets. And so in this case, your corner lot would be parallel to Avenue C. So I believe it actually runs something
Yeah,
like this.
Yeah.
So you got to redo your site plan and all your calculations, if I'm correct. That's how I'm reading 1210, definition of corner lot. So that's going to change the nature of what you're asking for.
I thought that's how they had identified the corner lot.
Is
Oh,
that?
no,
how
no,
they-
they made it oh, no, it's not perpendicular.
Yeah, to me,
It's
they're
not-
showing it perpendicular
No.
to McDonald, but it should be parallel to Avenue C.
Yes, yeah.
And the
it should-
interior lot should be more squared.
Yeah.
And so that's going to affect your calculations, your lot coverage, all that.
Right.
The windows and the lot line that Commissioner Shadow was talking about on the north side. So I don't remember exactly what percentage of windows you can have on a lot line wall, but there is some fire. I don't know how big the side yard would have to be in order to get windows there. And I think that given the amount of program space they need, I'm reluctant to take lot coverage away from them in exchange to try to get the height down a little bit. But I think the applicant can also speak to both of these comments and tell us what they think. But I really think the height there needs to be some attempt to take the height down. And then Commissioner Ollie Brown and Chair were talking about potentially looking into this school construction authority for some guidance. What the applicant did was provide this document from 2004, which is a bulletin regarding some building aid applications that schools or BOCESs can apply for. So I would like the applicant to clarify, while there are guidelines in here, what is the applicability of this to the application at hand? Let's see. I wanted a little more clarification on the staggered nature of the drop-off and pickup times and how, because it's a maximum of 4 buses that can park on McDonald. And so while it's described in the statement of facts, maybe a chart or something that clearly illustrates kind of concisely how the 4 buses coordinate with the vans and the carpool during arrival and dismissal of both staff and students. Those were my comments for now.
Okay. Ms. Benke?
Hi, we did receive a revised EAS. However, the noise analysis, which we requested, is still forthcoming. We did ask for an analysis of the playgrounds on the terraces. So that should be coming, as well as any impacts from the nearby rail line. So I just wanted to let you know that that's coming. And if there is any intended outdoor space in the yards, that should be added as well. And we're still reviewing the EAS for any other reviews. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Quick comment, Associate Counsel Velis. I see, a number of cases were cited relating to the definition of school and Cornell. At least 3 of those cited were somewhat briefed in the statement, but a couple of them appended were not Brookville v. Paul Jean Realty Corp. and United Civic Associations v. Planning Board of Clifton Park. If those could be briefed as well, that would be helpful for the board. And if you could just elucidate the facts of the other ones that were already briefed a little deeper, that would maybe help them to make their comparison.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to mention the second? one? No, okay, fine. This concludes the review session for April 14th, 2026. We'll resume at its 11:56. It's, sorry, 10:56.
So let's resume at 11:15.
Okay. We'll resume at 11:15 for the beginning of the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Microphone's on. Ms. Matias, we are live. We are streaming. You may proceed with today's public hearing.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for April 14th, 2026. The first item up is zoning calendar, continued hearing items 2025-16 BZ, 583 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, Mr. Lobel should be
We have Amber Carp
Amber.
and Barbara Cohen,
Yes, all of them have been
Yeah.
given the permission,
Jed Weiss.
and Jed Weiss.
Chair, our architect Joe Palante should also be in the waiting room. If not, we can,
Do you need him?
I
Satisfied with our comments?
think so. I was just gonna confirm the signage and lighting, but we can do that offline.
All right, what's his name?
Joe Palante.
Okay,
If he's not available, I spoke to him too prior to the call and I can clarify what was
She's
discussed.
in the room. She just let him in.
I just let him in.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, everyone, is that it, Mr. LaBelle?
That's it.
Okay, everyone raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Okay, please state your name for the record, whoever is the lead, and proceed to respond to board's comments at review session.
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for your careful consideration of this matter. We attended the board's executive session and understand that primarily there were 3 comments with regards to the plans and materials. The first was that the applicant confirmed that the ramp that was now proposed at the site is responsive to the board's comments, as well as the second point, which was that the signage and lighting would be as proposed. I can have Joe just speak to those 2 comments briefly, if that's okay.
Sure.
Good morning, Will. Yes, the ramp is new. It was in response to the drop-off being on Farragut as per the board's recommendation. And the signage on P6, the elevation, and it limits the size of the signage. There is no lighting on the signage. Any uplighting that was on the building before is clearly noted to be removed. So there will be no uplighting on this building. And also on that same P6 elevation, we have downlights that are existing in the canopy covering the entrance. Those downlights will remain. They do not face any of the neighboring properties. They're small downlights, and they will be within the foot candles that you requested them to be. So there is no lighting that is going to be arrayed to any of the neighbors.
Just for the abundance of caution, please add the note that we typically have all applicants put in, that lighting shall be pointed downwards and away from residential uses and shielded if required, and shall be no more than 2-foot candle along the residential lot lines.
Understood. Thank
Okay.
you.
Our project manager can give you the language.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for accommodating our recommendations.
Very well.
And Chair, I believe that Commissioner Ollie Brown had one additional comment with regards to a line item for construction in Ms. Cohen's financials. Perhaps Ms. Cohen can address that?
Sure. So in the report, page 28 and on 30 of the PDF, there are the summary of the Marshall and Swift costs, and they're supported by the individual pages in the appendix, page 49 and 39 in the PDF. And so the question was about interior construction as a line item, and Marshall and Swift indicates the costs cover basic costs such as partitions, doors, stairs, closets, cabinet work. and it's based on the area square footage of the occupancy. So, and plumbing is what takes care of the rough and finished installations and so on. So I think that was the question.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
So Chair, according to our review, those were the primary comments. I think we may have covered everything. Happy to answer anything else required of the board.
No, thank you very much. I want to, if everybody's satisfied with everything, I want to then go to the public.
Jella? I'll just do it that way.
Yeah, just start reading.
Yeah, the case that we're currently discussing is 2025-16 BZ. Should you wish to comment on this application, please dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 160-304-7474 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application.
Okay. So only correction that needs to be made is adding that note to the plan. I'm going, Ms. Benke, do we have all the sign-offs?
Yes.
Okay. I will recommend that we close and schedule it for decision in May. The reason for that is we have a lot of items scheduled for decision for April 24th. So we will schedule it for May. This way it will be timely. Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
thanks.
Motion to close, Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everything that your team has put together on this.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Very much appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Hit the wrong one, sorry. Item number 19, 2025-27 BZ, 3657 Kingsbridge Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, this would be Jennifer Mazaway. Anyone else from your team?
Melissa.
Okay.
Rockville. Rochelle.
Name? Yes.
Are we ready? Where's Jennifer?
Oh, I'm here. So, sorry, I had my camera closed. Apologies.
Is this your team? Is it?
I should have Melissa Brochel on and Eric Main. Yes,
Okay. Everyone raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board? And to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Okay. Whoever is the lead, please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Jennifer Mazaway, Mazawey, with the law firm of K&L Gates on behalf of Raising Cane's. We thank the board for their comments this morning. I think there were only 2 items. One was to confirm that the drive-through would not be open for breakfast. As we had indicated, breakfast is not served. That is not an issue. So to the extent that that is a condition of approval, that would not be a problem. And then there was a question with regard to the width of the street at West 238th Street. I think it might be easier for me if the board would indulge me to share the plan because there's varying widths.
Go ahead.
So, thank you. Just let me know if you can see that. And so you'll see at the northwest corner of the site near on 238th Street, it is approximately a 60-foot width. But because of the geometry of the street, it does get noticeably wider at the northeast corner of the site, up over 80 feet at that point. And so we could notate, we could, if the board is amenable, we could notate that in the statement of facts, that it's a varying width, or specify that it's 60 feet at one section and over 80 at another, and perhaps we just remove the word wide.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Sure. And so Commissioner Yoon, does that respond to your concern that you raised this morning?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I think that was the only board comments that needed response.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Let's go to the public.
The case that we're currently discussing is 2025-27 BZ 3657 Kingsbridge Avenue, the Bronx. Should you wish to comment in this application, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 160-304-7474 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to comment on this application, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment in this application. No phones.
All
or
right,
hands.
make a motion to close.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
So only thing that needs to be revised is the statement of fact, that particular line. Otherwise, we will schedule this for decision in May. As I mentioned with the earlier case, we have a lot of cases. So May, what's this?
May 11th.
May 11th.
Chair, if I may, when we were here the last time before the BSA, I thought they may have already anticipated that we could be on that second April meeting. Is it possible that we are already on that meeting?
I don't. Okay, what I could do, I'm not going to promise any date. We will consult internally and we'll let you know.
Perfect.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Item number 2025-34 BZ 620 West 153rd Street, Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah. Kurt Steinhaus.
Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else? Mr. Steinhaus, anyone else? who would like to
Just
speak?
me.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do. We heard Kurt Steinhaus on behalf of the applicant. We heard the comments at review session this morning and we have nothing further to say at this time.
Okay. All right, let's go to the public.
You want me to make a record?
Oh, okay. I just want to make a statement. We just now received a submission from Community Board 9. It is a 44-page document, which was supposedly sent on April 9th, but our office never received it. So we just received it as of 11:28 a.m. So if the public waiting to testify can give us 5 minutes, we can at least comb through the submission that has been made.
I just want to.
We also have not received a copy.
You have not.
I just forwarded it to you, a
Okay.
few minutes ago. You should get it any minute now. Kurt, sorry, we just got it as well.
We just don't know
Understood.
what we were in
Yeah.
hearing.
But it should be, I sent it 3 minutes ago, so you should get it any minute.
Yeah, so I think all of us need at least 5 minutes time to review it because we haven't had the chance to review it.
So you want to take a
It's,
quick
it's,
minute?
it's
Yeah, take a
13
5-minute.
It's 13 written pages and the rest are exhibits.
Exhibits, yes. If Mr. Ratner wants to comment, I don't think, just give us 5 minutes
Just
to
give us,
review.
in all fairness, we are just being fair to you. Because if you have submitted this document, if the community board has submitted, we do need to review it before we go into into the session.
This was not submitted today. This was.
right,
Mr.
Mr. Ratner,
Mr.
let's
Ratner,
discuss
I
this.
stated it what I stated. It was supposedly submitted on April 9th, but we never received
The
it.
commissioners didn't receive it. The commissioners
Nobody
did
received
not
it.
receive.
Nobody received it.
Today- until
Nobody
today,
received
okay?
it. Our document, clearly our record keeping has indicated, has shown
You'll have
nobody
your
has
time,
received
Davis,
it.
Please.
So there
Okay.
could be some technical glitches. I am,
According to our general counsel, there were no records of it in submit or in anyone's inboxes.
yeah.
You will have a moment to testify after we get to review this, and you can speak to that as the public does.
Yes. So, okay, so we're going to take, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 5-10 minute break.
Fine.
5-minute break, okay?
What do you?
And we'll be back.
5 minutes is fine.
You want to put a sign up at Jello? Where's Carl? Yeah. The room is still hot, so please, the recording is not stopped. Turn your mics off. the YouTube on? Let's make sure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
recording.
Live? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the record. The case that we're currently discussing is 2025-34BZ 620 West 153rd Street, Manhattan. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, enter the webinar ID number 160-304-7474 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. If you're calling in on the phone, and if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is little hands at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application. So, Mr. Ratner?
Mr. Ratner, do you want?
Comment something?
Yes.
Yeah. It's my- it's-
My name is David Ratner. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Housing, Land Use and Zoning Committee for Manhattan Community Board 9. Thank you for allowing me to make my submission and also to speak at today's hearing. Just want to make clear, I submitted this response on Thursday of last week. I have a receipt from BSA, so I know that it was received. I understand that it was not distributed to the commissioners. I don't. It puts me in a rather odd position because I don't feel that you had the opportunity to really digest all of this. I don't think it, I mean, I was prepared for a lot of things for today's hearing, but not this.
You have 3 minutes to speak, so please speak, because this is not going to be a back and forth statement. It's a statement coming from you, and we will.
Okay, well, my statement is in writing, but I do want to say a couple of things about the recitation of the procedure in this case that you gave Chair Chanda. With all due respect, I do want to make what I think are corrections to that. First of all, the community board was never served with the initial application in accordance with section 1-10.6 of the BSA rules. Neither the emailed nor regular mailed copies were addressed to the chair of the community board. In addition, to date, no proof of service has ever been filed with BSA in accordance with section 1-10.7. These omissions have all been brought to the attention of the staff. The notice of hearing was similarly not properly served, as it was not addressed to the chair of the community board. And perhaps I did not hear you correctly, Chair Chanda, so I apologize if I'm misquoting you, but I believe you indicated that the newly submitted documents were in response to questions asked at the December 8th, 2025 hearing, and these submissions were technical in nature. In fact, there was only one document that I'm aware of that was submitted after the hearing, and it was a recalculation of financial hardship data, which I would agree is technical in nature. However, the 20-odd other documents that were submitted in November before the hearing, and they were submitted in response to the notice of comments prepared by BSA staff. Many of these documents, most especially statements of finding, were substantially revised, and they were not technical in nature. It is those responses that were submitted in November, particularly the conspicuous failure to respond to key questions posed by Board of Standards and Appeals staff in the notice of comments, that the community board has directed the comments that you've recently just seen. Those that the Board of Standard and Appeals notice of comments exposed a gaping hole in the variance application, specifically that the applicant's minimal attempt to address the issue of constructive notice. And I just want to add, what I hope is made very clear in this memorandum, is that many of those statements are misleading, and almost all of them are completely lacking in substance. Most especially this idea that the architect, I'm sorry, that the developer exercised due diligence merely by hiring an architect. He was required to hire an architect. And if that's what the standard of due diligence is, then there is no requirement of due diligence. And furthermore, the architect never expressed in any of his opinions what the legal height of the building was. Zoning council, which they rely on, similarly explicitly exempted the height of the building from his analysis. This idea that the buildings department, by issuing temporary certificates of occupancy, somehow approved of the zoning analysis, are completely absurd. The idea that the buildings department renewed the zoning issues or reviewed the zoning issues 10 times is also absurd.
3 minutes are up.
Okay. As I say, all of these things are in my memorandum, and I hope that you will give it your attention and consideration.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just for the record, I want to read out our rules of section 1-10.6, which is not, which is application referral and hearing notices. Specifically, it states applicant must forward copies of a filed application and hearing notice to individuals and entities required by these rules by regular mail, certified mail, express delivery services, personal delivery, or by any other means acceptable to the board as indicated by the applicable instructions on the board's website. So email is definitely one of them. All materials required to be provided to the affected, community boards and the borough board, if applicable, and the city planning commission must be addressed to the respective chairperson, individuals or entities, including the affected community boards and the borough boards, if applicable, will be deemed to have received referred application on the day of personal delivery. So if I recall, the information was mailed to the community board's office, which is on their website, and it was sent to cb9@info@cb9.org, which is typically the standard practice of every address that is sent. However, the second notice that was sent to the chair's attention. To be clear, it was sent both hard copy and electronic copy. Okay.
Right.
So, any other questions or comments?
The point, Commissioner Chanda, was that it was not, the original application was not sent to the chair.
I would say point noted. However, the community board did get to weigh in and did hold a hearing on November 20th, and did issue a disapproval, which the board did receive prior to a board's hearing that was scheduled back in December of 8th. And we did read community board's disapproval notice and comments into our record. So despite that minor error, everything was fully recorded and addressed and reviewed by the.
In point of fact, we were not notified.
Mr. Lappin, I
you.
don't mean
No.
to be rude.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I make a brief statement?
Yes, Mr. Steinhaus.
Thank you. We received comments from the community board at 11:40 a.m. as forwarded by Jella Pringa. These comments were never sent to the applicant by the community board. The community board submission discusses the applicable standards for constructive notice in depth. We note that the original application we submitted already discussed this point, so this argument is outside the scope of the purpose for which the board reopened the application. That said, it is clear that there's no reasonable basis to charge the owner with constructive notice in this case. Besides the extensive amount of diligence that occurred on the private side, the Department of Buildings conducted a special audit that resulted in a number of zoning objections, one of which noted that the building must be constructed to quality housing standards. Notably, however, the applicant found that DOB's own special audit was deficient and missed a section of the zoning resolution that also required the building to be constructed to quality housing standards. So the applicant had to obtain a new DOB objection for this provision, section 2316C of the zoning resolution that DOB itself missed. And so we would say that given that DOB takes their special audits very seriously and thoroughly, the fact that they missed one of these provisions just goes to how buried and obscure these sections of the zoning resolution were. Other statements by the community board in their submission deal with other matters that were included in the original submission, including discussion of the architect's certificate and zoning opinion. For these reasons, we would ask that the board close the hearing.
Thank you for clarifying that, and I would agree with Mr. Steinhaus that the purpose of the reopening was to discuss the additional submission that was made, which and that is the one where the rule of this was to be consistent with the board rule, and what was submitted, as Mr. Ratner pointed out, that the submission was technical in nature and would not have changed the community board's determination. So with that, and I thank everybody. I want to thank community board, Mr. Ratner, everybody for paying attention to what we do and providing response to the concerns that they have. We may not agree, but I appreciate the concerns that's been provided. So any other questions or comments? Anybody from public who needs to speak on this matter virtually? Please raise your hand. Okay. All right. Are we all okay?
Yes.
Do we want to close?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion to close.
Motion to close, Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shibeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay. And we will schedule this for a decision, and we will let you know, Mr. Steinhaus, the decision date.
Thank you. We would ask for the earliest possible.
Yes, noted. Thank you.
Okay, item number 21, 2025-46 BZ 5904 17th Avenue, Brooklyn.
Is this with Mr. LaBelle? I think he should be in the room.
Richard LaBelle and who else? Anyone else, Mr. LaBelle, with your firm?
No one else from my firm. We should have Louis Garfinkel and Rabbi Babad. At a minimum, probably also Kevin Corte for environmental.
I have Louis Garfinkel and Ushar Babart. Is that
That would be correct.
Rabbi?
Correct. Gail Pickett may also be in, as well as either of Laura Kenny or Kevin Corte.
I don't
see them.
Okay, environmental issues are not tantamount here, so we're happy to.
Yeah, I think we are stuck at A.
Okay. Makes the environmental easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if anyone can unmute and join and put your videos on, cameras on. Mr. Garfinkel?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my camera to work. Then I'll rejoin. It was working before. I don't know what just happened to it. I'm gonna go into. Let's see. Let's go move before it worked.
Can we proceed with, I mean, he's gonna provide testimony, Mr. Lobel?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's got to. Camera's on the lower left.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Let's just proceed.
Okay, let me swear everyone in, and then once you get your camera, you join.
I'm sorry.
Raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Okay. Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments.
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant. Chair, Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm here with Rabbi Babad, as well as Louis Garfinkel, representing Congregation Or LaShamayim. We heard the board's comments. We would first ask for the board's patience with the applicant. Unlike many applications we bring before the board for variances, we have a religious applicant here who is not particularly sophisticated in terms of BSA applications. And so it's been a process in terms of our interaction with the rabbi and with the synagogue in terms of getting information. So, while we have attempted to be as responsive as we can be to the board comments, we understand that certain information was not forthcoming. We're doing our best in order to be able to flesh that out. But I'd say importantly, because we don't want to belabor this discussion or this hearing, we need to kind of go back for a minute and talk a little bit about what this case is about and what the board is really permitted to look at in terms of a religious applicant. And I do not say this lightly. I say this with the full weight of Cornell deference and other cases behind this application to basically remind the board and to state one quotation from Cornell, which is that the court in deciding Cornell made clear that a showing of need was not an appropriate criterion with regards to, in that case, a school, saying that the zoning boards involved in each case were, quote, in fact, using an impermissible criterion in that they demanded that the schools make a showing of affirmative need for the proposed expansion. The imposition of such a requirement or any other requirement unrelated to the public's health, safety, or welfare is therefore beyond the scope of the municipality's police power and thus impermissible. I know that we've got a rabbi's apartment here, which mirrors the size of the shul of the site. But I also know that we've got some physical limitations in terms of the site. We've got a 1,000 square foot lot, which by any measure is small and by the board's precedent is unique in this regard. And we also have an apartment, which again, while the board has stated that the rectory, as we have now changed the designation, rivals the space of the synagogue here, the truth is that on an absolute level, that rectory is only 2,300 square feet. This is not an area or a request or something which on an absolute level requests a tremendous amount here. As the board, I think, would recognize, 2,300 square feet, if looking at it in terms of an entire application, would be a relatively modest request for a rectory. And so what's important for me to state with regards to this application? Two things. The first is that we will continue to work on modifications to the application, but also importantly, to really clarify the program need here, which leads to the second point, which is that it's impossible for me to divorce the rectory here from the operation of the synagogue. When I talk to the rabbi, and the only reason I'm fighting this hard is because I have my orders as the applicant's representative that they want to maintain the space at the synagogue, at the site for the rectory. And when I look at the rectory, I look at several things. The first, unlike the practice of many other religious institutions, we've got services here which operate literally 18 hours a day. And I think that the board can recognize from prior cases, this is not typical. The program information that we provided with regards to the services are that they start at 6 a.m. and often ends beyond midnight. So when you're looking at the fact of the rabbi as the religious leader of the people and the opportunity to conduct services for 18 hours a day, it is of critical importance that the rabbi be able to have access to the congregation and to the physical plant of the building for an extended amount of time, which is only truly permitted by having him live there. The other things, of course, is that the rabbi in this community is not merely the religious leader. He is also a custodian of religious artifacts for the building, which require care and safekeeping. He is also a counselor, as his wife is, importantly, in this religious practice, where the rabbi's wife is importantly counseling to members of the synagogue community on a daily basis. He's also unbelievably providing food and sometimes shelter to congregants who are elderly or who do not live nearby and are thus required to spend extended amounts of time within the building. So again, commissioners and chair, we know the comments, we heard the comments, and we've brought more than 125 applications for religious and school applicants before the board and have cited Cornell many times, but it's often useful to look back and see what this really means. Are the waivers here going to, and with the grant of these waivers, have an impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding community? And importantly, when we look at that question, we look at case law, because there's much opinion in terms of this application and what is correct and what is not correct and what's the primary use and such. But the case law says that in clarifying factors directly relevant to public health, safety, or welfare, the court cited, quote, fire and similar emergency risks and traffic conditions insofar as they involve public safety. We're really going, when we look at the Cornell Doctrine and that type of scrutiny, to are we affecting the safety, the welfare of the surrounding area? I think here, undoubtedly, the variance is requested and the opportunity for the rabbi to be at this building full-time and live in a comfortable setting is not affecting those critical factors. So again, I don't want to belabor this application and this discussion before the board, but I do want to say that, you know, we do feel we're within the Cornell Doctrine and precedent in terms of what we're asking here. And we do intend to come back to the board in good faith, provide additional information, but you know, we're fairly steadfast in terms of what we want to maintain on the site and the fact that we feel that the rabbi's department here is appropriate. And with that, the applicant's happy to answer any questions.
I will agree to disagree with you.
Okay.
Read of the Cornell Doctrine, because the findings, as we all know, have always been related to the primary use. And in this case, the way the statement, as Commissioner Otley Brown mentioned, the way it is referred to, it is actually referring to as the rectory as the primary use. Everything seems to be just the reverse. The Cornell Doctrine, it didn't respond to, it was responding to the school, it was responding to the house of worship, but not to the accommodation, the rooms or sleeping units associated with it. So I will respectfully disagree with you on your take on it. And I will also tell you that there are many cases that this board has reviewed since I've been on this board on sites of this size, where few did explore the possibility of putting a rabbi's unit on top. And we consistently have not allowed it because it ended up becoming more primary than the actual primary nature of the operation that use was going to serve. So this is very similar to that. This is no different. The hours of operations that's been indicated, yes, where there is mikvah, there is a longer hours of operation, but that has not been the primary reason or the elements. These are not that different from many of the houses of worship with mikvah that we have seen. And so I really fail to see the uniqueness and the difference of this program from any of the others that we have seen, and the lack of consistency that we are, if any, we are showing. So I am not going to take too much of everybody's time, and just want to ask Commissioners, do you have any additional questions or comments for this team?
I would just say I take exception to his review of the Cornell Doctrine because it wouldn't, the limitations on our discretion, we often make modifications to projects to say that we can only think about a modification when it becomes a health and safety hazard, I think is a very broad and I think is an improper review of the Cornell Doctrine and our precedent.
Yeah, I mean, to respond, we're not saying or denying the fact that the applicant has to meet the findings here, but there's been no assertion that that the other findings here, particularly in terms of character, are not met. And so it's really a question of the need of the applicant and the question of whether or not the board is permitted to delve into the need. We've alleged program needs, and the board regularly looks at the applicant to establish its program need, but not to necessarily measure the sufficiency of that need, whether or not that need is real. And so here, as an example, if you had a facility like this, and you had rooms for counseling, and you had rooms for a caretaker for the mikvah, and you had accessory rooms for allowing for a room to feed people. And you had rooms, indeed, the rabbi told me that during the past holiday of Passover, he was frequently required to store materials for the synagogue in his own apartment. It is simply impossible here to divest the operation of the synagogue from the rectory.
Mr. Lobel,
Yes.
that's a synagogue need. And if you need to expand the synagogue space for synagogue storage, that's a different matter. That is a completely different ask than what is being asked. There is no, the programmatic need for a sleeping accommodation to a house of worship is never been brought in that way. The programmatic need of a synagogue or any house of worship is a prayer area for the congregants and for the congregants to do the worship and carry on the religious practices that they're supposed to. There is no programmatic need and a tie-in with the sleeping accommodation. So I fail to see that, and the Cornell Doctrine does not go into accessory use.
So we do disagree in that regard. But I would also add that this is not merely a residential apartment. This is for a rectory.
Mr. Lobel, please
if I follow along with your reading of the Cornell Doctrine's limitations on the board's ability to examine and analyze the information before us, you're basically suggesting that an applicant can come with a wish list that could be as grand as their creativity allows, and the board should simply say, okay.
Because
no, that's an incorrect characterization of what I said.
That
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Legislated into the zoning resolution that if you have a synagogue, don't go to the BSA, go directly to Department of Building and get your permits to build, because the zoning resolution does not affect you in any way.
I'm happy to explain why that's incorrect.
Religious institution.
The reason that that's an incorrect characterization of what I'm saying is because the board, of course, is tempered by the other findings, inclusive of the character finding. I'm not saying that if you propose, Mr. May I finish? I'm not saying that if you're proposing a 10-story building at the site, that all of a sudden,
Mr. Lobel, I'm going to stop you right there, please, Mr. Lobel. We did not even go past A. We're just trying to understand the programmatic need. Once the programmatic need is established, as you clearly very well know, that then only we start looking at the C finding of the neighborhood character and the E finding, therefore. We have not even, you have failed to establish A. And it has nothing to do with the neighborhood character. And I would agree with Commissioner Otley Brown. The way you stated it, it almost means the only thing that we have to do is rubber stamp the building envelope for any programmatic need that one wishes in the name of Cornell Doctrine.
This is a mischaracterization of what I have alleged. I'm merely saying that the board should appropriately, when deciding the findings, look at the health, safety, and welfare of the community. I'm not saying that all of a sudden, and like my example says, I'm not saying that a 15-story building is suddenly appropriate here because there's no threat to the public health, safety, and welfare. If that 15-story building does not meet the other findings, it should be rejected. There's just no allegation of that here. And importantly, Chair and Commissioners, this is a rectory. It is now a change in the use group. This is not merely for a residential apartment where anybody can live. It is a rectory which by use is specifically tied to the operation of the synagogue. We're happy to submit on this.
All right, I saw our counsel, Vine raise the hand, please, and then Vice Chair Shibata, and then Ms. Morris. Go ahead, General Counsel.
Thank you, Chair. I have no comment at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Lavelle, I truly appreciate, I appreciate your situation. I appreciate your zealous advocacy. I don't think we have any other, I think we've talked this, we've talked this out already.
Yeah.
NASA?
Sorry, Ms. Morris and then Commissioner Shetta. Ms. Morris?
Just a comment, perhaps useful practically in trying to better illustrate the sort of plan requirements of the space use intensity that happens. Thus far in the two submissions that have been made, the multipurpose area is on plan a blank space, and yet there's an understanding that the activities that happen there are flexible and changing and actively programmed in many different ways. And so it may be helpful to illustrate that in plan in some way that helps to activate that space in plan.
We stated that, the commissioner stated that at the hearing, initial hearing and at the today's executive session.
Understood.
Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Chair. I was raising my hand since Commissioner Brown started talking, but anyway.
I see it. Sorry about that.
Apologize.
That's okay. I believe what I got from Mr. Lobel's statement is the same as Commissioner Brown got, exactly the same. I believe what is being conveyed to us is whatever programmatic needs wise, whatever is presented to you, you should eat it, you should accept it. The judgment, it sounds like Mr. Lobel want to just go with the impact on the neighborhood, safety-wise and hazards-wise. I believe there are other findings, and one of the findings is finding E, and I don't believe, I personally have a big problem with finding E. I believe the ask is huge, and it's not justified, but by whatever programmatic needs presented to us. I believe this is the main issue here. I hear you, Chair, saying that you didn't get past A. I believe A is implied with house of worship and schools and like some of the nonprofit. But I believe the big issue here, and this is what is being conveyed to the applicant last hearing, is that the ask is not justified. Please take a look at it, redesign or justify it. None of these two elements were looked at in this submission, and that's why during the review session, I called to close this hearing and move forward. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just stop the discussion here because I really don't see this project going forward. So I'm
Want to go to the public first?
and I'm going to go to the public at this point.
Okay. The case that we're currently discussing before us is 2025-46 BZ, 5904 17th Avenue, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment on this application, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the Weber ID number 160-304-7474 and press the pound sign. Excuse me. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room ready and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Mr. LaBelle, while we are waiting for anybody to call in.
Chair, I have a request.
Go ahead.
The request would be that the board leave this open, that the chair allow and the commissioners allow us to have one more submission. We would need roughly 4 weeks, in which case we would have additional conversations with the applicant about modifications to the plans, and then would resubmit. And we would note that this has merely had one prior hearing.
What I will do is I'm going to close it, keep the record open for you to make the submission. If we feel the submission is going in the direction that we are directing, then we may consider opening it. Otherwise, we will make a decision to deny it.
Chair, I object to the closure by the board.
Object to it. You may
I'd
object
like
to
to,
it.
may I just finish my statement? The chair and commissioners are well aware that there's applications for nonprofits, schools, religious institutions, which have remained before the board for over 2 to 3 years with hearings numbering in the 10 to 15 hearings range. This is literally we've had one prior hearing. I would ask that the chair and the board keep this hearing open. I will, as a longtime practitioner before the board, will make strong efforts with regards to the applicant to modify the application.
Mr. LaBelle, I truly appreciate your willingness to work on the third part of our hearing. I wish this was done for this hearing. We have wasted 2 hearings already. The submissions that were made were inadequate in the first round that were clearly stated. No effort was made in the second round to address it. There was only a little bit of additional documents which really didn't shed any light, but it added to our questions and doubts even more so. And therefore, I am going to keep the record open for you to make the submission. And if you think you are going to reduce the project scope significantly to address the concerns that will meet our findings, then you shouldn't fear us having to close it. Keeping the record open.
Yeah, well, Chair, but the problem is obviously that with a closure, it makes it more likely that the hearings will end. And obviously, as I said, I'm asking for dispensation for an applicant who is not sophisticated and would allow for that, would request that.
You are the representative. You are the representative. You know what board looks for. You know what board is asking for. So yeah, thank you. I'm going to make a motion to close.
Chair Shonda?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sabetta?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon?
Aye.
And I'll keep the record open and you may take as much time to respond to it. If you need 1 month, you need 2 months, please let us know and we will reschedule it for decision at that time.
Understood.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
New case on the zoning calendar, item number 22, 2025 52 BZ 560 McDonald Avenue.
Yeah.
Mr. Goldstein?
Yeah, I let him, oh, he didn't, I guess I did.
His hand is still up.
Yeah,
Okay.
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 Apologies, there was a delay in the,
Good afternoon, Mr. Goldstein. Is there anyone participating with you?
just me today.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board? And to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good afternoon, Jay Goldstein on behalf of the applicant. We listened to the review session. We appreciate the board's review and analysis on this application. I'd like to respond briefly just in terms of the comments made, and we'll respond in writing. With regard to educational deference, we'll clarify and amplify the case law that we've stated per council's request, and also we'll analyze with the help of council if it's needed. We'll go into physical hardships of the site as suggested by Commissioner Otley Brown. With regard to the waiver of the rear yards and the discussion of corner lot, we will analyze the plans and look at the calculation to determine where the corner lot is, and we'll adjust the plans accordingly. Regarding the support for the size of the spaces in the room, so the documents we gave are what was available to us. We are looking for further guidelines of what these types of schools actually have in terms of guidelines. We haven't seen specifics yet. We worked with other programs and other schools and analyzed other plans for other buildings and then tailored it to our needs as well, based on our specific programmatic needs. Each one of these schools differ slightly between their programs, so they're not all directly on point.
May I
So-
ask you a question?
Sure.
There is an existing school, right?
Right.
So what is the program space allocation? Is that per similar guidelines, or what guidelines is it following?
So it's based on just the needs of the school and the program, but they're limited. It was an existing building and they were limited in space, and that's why we're proposing this building to allow us to have all of these sizes and spaces we need to provide the educational environment that these students require. But again, we'll further dig into the programs and to the requirements for these types of schools. And we'll justify the spaces throughout, and also we'll look at the offices and the conference rooms to see if there's a way to reduce those in size and scale and number.
Perhaps even some analysis of a comparable school, so, somewhere.
Right, so that's what we did. We looked at some of the other schools the board's seen, but those schools differ in terms of the students that come to this school have specific set of problems that we're trying to address. So not all of these schools are directly, apples to apples. So that becomes the hardship in analyzing it. We did work with staff to get samples from other buildings, other special needs schools that the board has reviewed, and we will, respond accordingly. With regard to the terraces, as Commissioner Yoon showed, I believe we do have the notes on the terraces, but we'll make sure that all of the terraces that are proposed to be used as playgrounds will have the sound attenuation notes and materials.
And if you could just make sure it's distributed on all of the elevations and sections. so it's
Right.
On all of the drawings.
Correct, we'll make sure of that. We'll work on bringing the stairs and the ramp into the property line, and to provide the 10-foot wide curb, the 10-foot wide clearance between the streets and the lot line for the sidewalks. The planting strip along McDonald, we'll analyze it, but the point is well taken. And then with regard to the self-created hardship, we'll simplify it based on the board's new directions on the website. We weren't informed about it or didn't know about it, so we will take a look and amend our application accordingly. With regards to, again, I comment the Commissioner Otley Brown's comments with regard to either programmatic needs and the deference through the case law or the physical hardship of the site. With regards to the floor-to-floor heights for the building, Commissioner Shetta will analyze it and see if there is a way to reduce it. But that'll be part of the overall comments from Commissioner Yoon to try and analyze and do a test fit to see if there's a way to perhaps enlarge lot coverage, reduce some of the terraces to allow for the building to be brought down a little bit. I'm not sure if we can do it, but it's something that we will definitely analyze and pursue.
I think one thing that, the character of the neighborhood is obviously, going down McDonald is quite low rise. And so
Right.
I understand that there is a programmatic need, so I hope that that's clear. But what we're looking at is something that's going to be quite tall. And then it will step down, right?
Right.
It's going to be a pretty stark, that 72-foot height against these row houses, this full long block of row houses. I think that there are definitely ways that you can approach this architecturally. The other thing I wanted to say is that the series of terraces is going to require that you maintain a higher floor-to-floor height, because when you have terraces on every floor, you need to drop the slab a couple of feet in order to accommodate a ADA accessible path to the terrace. So you got to drop the slab, and then you end up shrinking this floor to floor height under the portion that's terraced. And so if you do that every floor, you're now there's just a series of decisions that have been made on a design level that makes the height taller than it perhaps has to be. So I
Yeah.
would like to see, it's my opinion, I think there are ways to configure this where you can reduce the height.
Okay. We'll definitely look into it. This was done for dual purposes, but we also do have the, triangular nature of the lot that limited some of the, spaces that can be used. So
I know, and I know it gets narrower towards Avenue C, so I appreciate all of those things, but I think that there could be some attempt to, at least, yeah.
right. No,
Yes,
we'll
that's-
definitely analyze it. The points are well taken.
Okay.
And then with regard to the staggered arrival and dismissal, we'll provide a chart. So I think those were all of the comments from the board, but we'll obviously review the review session and the hearing videos and respond to the board's comments in writing.
I have to say, the last statement that was made by Commissioner Yoon, and the terracing, how the creation of the terracing and requiring access for ADA results in more increased height is point well taken, and that definitely should be factored in to minimize, which also goes to what Commissioner Sheta was saying. So absolutely do look at ways to reduce the height. And other thing that Commissioner Yoon mentioned was relocating the swimming pool below grade so that you minimize that dead space of 6 foot, which is also further adding to the height of the building. And use that nicely lit area for more classroom spaces, which are by the lot lines where there isn't any window. So I would say use this, I recognize the limitation of the space and the irregularity of it, but where you can use it for the purpose it's needed, use it. The swimming pool can be below grade, or it can be on the first floor, where right tucked away by the side lot line, which doesn't need all the light and air, and you provide the rooms that need the light and air on upper floors, while also widening out the floor plate to allow for more roomier layouts with windows facing, and reducing the circulation space and the corridor space also vertically. You're reducing the cost.
Right,
So
understood.
there are a lot of pros to that approach.
Right, we'll definitely take a look at it and definitely review it with the architect.
Right.
And it's even structurally better
I
to put
just,
the.
sorry, Commissioner Sheta, I just want to say, when you say look at it, do revise it.
I understood the point from the board, and I understand the direction. I generally try and take these back to the architect.
I know
and
you do.
revise it
I think
appropriately.
one of the
I'm under oath. I can't say that it will be done. I can't say that it's accomplishable. There may be issues with it that I don't know, or
I
that the
don't
board's
want to
not
have
aware.
a repeat hearing on the same layout and
100%.
conversations and justification. It's
No
not
problem.
beneficial to anybody. Okay, Commissioner Sheta?
Yeah, I wanted to say that placing the pool downstairs especially in the basement would be much better from structural perspective. It's gonna significantly reduce your lateral forces in the building, which is a low-rise building. You don't want to add building to a building like this to make it look, its structural elements look like they are for a higher rise building. So talk to your structural and your architect. I'm sure it's gonna be like much more beneficial decision placing this in the basement rather than putting it upstairs.
Understood.
One thing I wanted to discuss while we're on this topic is when I was looking at the plans and the surrounding area, so I'm looking at the site plan here. I can appreciate that it's an irregular site and that you are going to face some sort of planning difficulties. But if I'm wondering maybe what the board thinks. There's a side yard required, and they're meeting that side yard requirement with 8-foot side yard here. But if they were to effectively ask for another waiver, which is not usually something I'm a proponent of, the adjacent building has windows, existing windows somewhere like this. And so if you were to get rid of this 8-foot side yard for a portion of the building, you could reclaim some usable square footage that could assist with the overall lowering of the height of the building. So if that's something that you'd be open to, I think that that could be something that your architect could explore to reclaim some more floor area. It increases the lot coverage ask and adds a side yard waiver, but it overall might reduce the impact to the neighborhood height-wise.
Right,
Okay.
and if you look at the layout of the rooms there, I don't think those rooms, well, those are mostly office spaces, so it's not like they need the light and air. So you could have lot line condition without having to provide, and then replace with, yeah, there's a generous amount of office spaces that's provided in that corner. So if you can pack in a lot of your office spaces in that area and then reduce the floor plate and free up the ground floor for your swimming pool and your entry ways, all of that.
Okay, it's
at a
definitely
certain
something
point-
we can look at.
They could employ lot line windows up to a certain percentage with fire protection like they're doing on the north side. I think they start on the 3rd floor, so you could also incorporate windows still.
I would say no for this reason is because you have a residential building right next to it and they have their rear yard. So for the sake of privacy.
I think we could make them translucent up to a certain height or something, but I think
Okay.
it is a hardship to not have any light and air for 5 floors to me. So if we can
Maybe above
solve
a
it with
certain
some
height.
translucence,
Okay.
I think that could be a solution, a potential solution.
Okay. Again, all of these are very well taken comments, and we'll go back to the architect and work with him.
Okay, all right. How much time will you need? Actually,
Let's go to the public, I think, right?
Let's go to the public first.
The case that we're currently looking at is 2025-52 BZ, 560 McDonald Avenue, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment on this application, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 160-304-7474 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate in the conversation, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to comment on this application.
Okay, Mr. Goldstein, how much time will you need?
It's a significant amount of work
Yeah.
on the plan, so let me get back to the board
Sure.
and staff on this one.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. And please follow up.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, second call item from April 13th, 2025, 40 BZ, 2800 Bruckner Boulevard, the Bronx.
Unfortunately, we have not received a sign up from DOT. So we will have to defer this for the next scheduled hearing in April, which is 23rd, 24th.
Okay.
27th.
Huh?
It's the 27th, right?
Sorry, oh, sorry, 27?
27, yeah, sorry.
27, 28,
Yeah.
my apologies.
Okay. And no further business. This concludes the public hearing for April 14th, 2026. Thank you, one and all.